岁月、环境、规则 ，LPL 在不断改变。6年中，有许多人问我，你为什么还在坚持？这局游戏对你究竟意味着什么？
全军出击！
我见过最美的风景，也听过最热烈的欢呼。为了所有这些，我愿意付出一切。
这局游戏是一段旅途，有人中途停留，也有人会做到最后，而终点只不过是另一个起点。
50的血量，50的血量！
我不走那么多是非曲折，这局游戏赢就对了。
이번 게임의 낭만은 0부터 100처럼 무명에서부터 이름을 날리는 것이다.
我从来都没有后悔过自己走过的路。 这局游戏的魅力就在于创造奇迹。
많은 사람들이 전설을 보는 것에 열광하지만 다른 사람들이 그 뒤에서 흘리는 땀에 대해서는 잘 보지 못합니다. 하지만 이러한 땀이 없었다면 저희는 다시 이곳으로 돌아오지 못했을 겁니다.
欢迎来到英雄联盟。
会变的是人和环境，不变的是游戏最后的胜利画面。
我明白。 这场游戏就是成王败寇，
但是不到最后，我不会放弃对王冠的追逐。
这局游戏需要牺牲，无私奉献，去成就团队的胜利。
他还需要领袖，不管遇到什么困难，都和同伴一起扛下去。
是我最喜欢的玩具。
LPL 需要年轻的力量，是时候让我们来接管比赛了。
想成为这场游戏的主角吗？打败我吧！我们的时代还远没有结束。
Hopefully, Snake loses their game at the end of today as well.
But we do need to then talk about the implications here. So if a Snake lose today and BLG win, then it's pretty much done. So BLG will get the spot. If both teams lose today, then it would come down to the very last game played in the LPL, which is BLG versus EDG, little brother versus big brother. So still a lot on the line. And that said, now comes time for my tinfoil hat.
Okay, I'm ready.
This is risky to approach, but the thing is right now in the bracket, BLG are on the Suning Gaming, Rogue Warriors, and Edward Gaming side. If they manage to take second, they would be on the WE, RNG, and Invictus Gaming side. I'm not pointing fingers, but that seems like a pretty sketch reward to get for taking second in domestic conference, to be slated between RNG and W on one side and Invictus Gaming in the semifinals.
Yeah, I think that's definitely fair, though I will say it's more about like the names that scare me most if I'm going down there. I think that Rogue Warriors have been on the upswing. I also think that like the raid boss at the end, which is EDG, are also going to be pretty difficult to take down. Plus, we'll actually get to see BLG take on EDG at the very last game of the split. So, like, yes, the names are scary, but I think it's maybe just as hard in the upper bracket.
It would also mean that they are a single best of 5 of representing at Rift Rivals. Because again, if you make it to the LPL semifinals, you are going to be the Rift Rivals representative. So far, the two teams that are for sure going to appear internationally at RR are Invictus Gaming and Edward Gaming.
Yeah, no one else locked in for certain right now but BLG. We have to talk more about them and how they've done recently, because now this is a change up in terms of the roster I find very interesting, because it's more the fact that this team just got even better instead of this team's kind of bad but now they just are good. They just got even better with Chieftain and Mole heading into the lineup.
Yeah, they just diversified their playstyle. So BLG, formerly known as IMA, they appeared at Worlds in 2016. I feel like we always have to rehash this. It was always about the 5v5. All they could do was team fight. It pretty much meant that any 25 minutes they were just getting kicked around the map. Insert Chieftain and Mole, their brand new jungle and mid duo, and suddenly BLG have an early game. Now, their late game is a little bit rougher. The synergy's just not quite there, but it was a good enough bet to set up this successful jungle. And it's kind of debate between Mole and Athena. I value Mole. There is an argument still that maybe Athena, you know, there's not as big of a gap there, but between SKS and Chieftain, there is a massive gap. And these two players might be kind of the secret edge to get BLG, you know, on the right foot heading into playoffs. They could be an actual threat and make a finals run.
Absolutely, and of course it's the early game that you look at, because it's Chieftain invading, his right-hand man is there in the form of Mole, and they just invade. Maybe that's a blueprint that will get discovered later on, but the fact it happened at the very end of the split doesn't give teams a lot of time to really look at it and be like, does he invade red every single time? I don't know. I don't have the sample size really to know that.
And then there's also the fact that it's diversifying their draft selection. It was previously before that BLG were very stock standard. They would almost draft every single game, all losing lanes, get kicked in the lane phase, and then they would have to find these miracle teleport flanks. But because they were so good at it, we allowed them, you know, we're like, that's just how they play the game. Now their draft is changing up. They're not so dependent on the meta anymore. They're having these strange flex picks. It's just a very refreshing, very scary BLG fan.
For sure, and like when you watch them play as well, you look at their team fights, it's like, okay, maybe it's a little more sloppy than it was with Athena and SKS being in the lineup, but you're going into those fights usually up or even in terms of goals. That feels way better if you're a BLG fan to be like, it's not a comeback story every single game, it's actually just us winning the game.
Of course, then we also have to look at the other side for Vici Gaming. Now, we still get 2 more chances to look at Vici. They don't have any playoff contention on the line, but they are experimenting with their roster. They're trying to find what will work for them come summer 2018. The newest addition, of course, would be between Snow and Fire Rain, but they've also got their star jungler in Swift next to world champion EasyHoon.
It is indeed. You know, I'm still waiting for that Mordekaiser to come out. But on the opposite side, we have BLG, Amazing J in the top lane, Chieftain in the jungle, Mo in the mid, with Jinjiao and Road in the bottom lane.
And again, all eyes have to be on Chieftain and Mole. They're not necessarily the superstars of BLG that still is firmly in AJ's hands, but they are adding an interesting and new dynamic.
They absolutely are the catalyst. On the opposite side, Meow, Swift, EasyHoon, Snow, and Caveman are going to be coming in today. And Snow, of course, in the AD carry role over Martin.
And how could you not be a fan of Vici? Their top laner's name is Meow. He plays Meowkai. What more could you want?
Not a lot, honestly, for us. Though I do think about it, we have a lot of people in the LPL named something around being a cat. We have Meow.
Cat?
We have literally Cat. Man, I'm missing someone else. I was thinking of Long, but He's not
That
a
is
long cat. He's not a
definitely
long
not a cat. That's a dragon.
There's someone else. I'm forgetting his name right now, but definitely an affinity towards that one. But yeah, for sure. If we look at BLG and how they've grown, it also means that the bot lane has been unlocked as well. We've seen more from Jin Zhao.
Oh yeah. So what's interesting is that in the late game 5v5s, because BLG were constantly at a deficit, Jin Zhao would be like 2 items behind the other ADC. So his stats are just getting kicked around because there's no way he can put up those same numbers. Now with Chieftain and Mole giving BLG an early game, it gives more gold to Jin Zhao, and suddenly their ADC looks a lot better. Imagine that. You give him, even items, he could do something.
Exactly, and he's super strong with that as well. But for now, though, we are going to send it over to our casters to get us into our very first match of the day.
That's right, guys. It's me, Fish. Joining me is Raz. About to get into the first match today. It's going to be BLG taking on Vici. And as we mentioned earlier, for BLG to try and take the second place spot, they must pick up a victory here today, or they're going to be relying on Snake losing to Team WE later on tonight.
Oh, yeah,
as well as the victory against EDG later on in the week.
Just, of course, for everybody to recognize this, if both teams in Snake and BLG lose today, or if they both win today, then you have to pay attention to the last day of the LPL to find out if BLG actually takes second place in the Western Conference.
All right, Meow, let's take a look at Champion Slate, because already a couple of bands have come out here. For BLG, Azir, as well as Olaf and Trundle will be the 3 bands they throw towards Vici. Vici will take away Camille, Xayah, and Swain.
I'm immediately surprised at the fact that BLG has decided this time around not to ban the Alistar.
Okay.
The Alistar ban has been a staple for them in the previous weeks, and it's mostly because they don't want to pick it up themselves necessarily, and they're afraid of enemy teams taking it. Caveman is a renowned Alistar player. This time around, they're willing to just give it up to him.
Well, maybe it's because he's going to be playing it here today, because Caveman doesn't go towards the Alistar. They lock in Tom Kench as their first pick. BLG will secure Sejuani as their jungler of choice.
All right. Of course, Sejuani is just a takeaway from Swift, because Swift has gone towards tanks lately. When he came back towards Vici, or at least when he first started out, he was playing Nidalee, he was playing...
He was the carry.
Exactly, he was going the carry route, but then they didn't know how to start fights, so he said, okay, put me back on the Sejuani, and we're going to win games through that. They have been doing well, but now BLG have decided to take away that Sejuani entirely.
Which before Skarner became a very popular pick in the jungle, Zac was that secondary tank that you go to when Sejuani was taken away. So I have to see what Swift can do on the champion. For the side of BLG, they're going to lock in Gangplank as their top laner of choice for Amazing J. He's had a tremendous split on the champion.
Yeah, and right now they're just kind of thinking about dive setup. GP is great, utilizing his ulti so they can get to the backline, has a great slow, great team fight setup, and knowing that Vici Gaming have Tom, Kench, and Zac means that they can play towards a really strong team fight composition. And if they're going into the second phase, knowing that Vici haven't picked an AD carry just yet, a Kog'Maw ban would be very valuable.
Well, we don't get to see that Alistar that we were talking about though, Raz, because Thresh was locked in for Rogue, but Meow just says, you know what, right Meow, I'm going to play Fiora in the top lane and take it to this Gangplank.
This is already a weird composition. Vici are saying that they're just going to split it up, have a strong team fighting depending on what the AD carry can be, but also have that split push pressure. So right now it's on Vici saying that now that you split up your focus and your composition, you have to play it out right.
We've seen him play the champion before. We've seen what he can do against carry champions. Amazing J as well, he's had a split where he can play up against these carry champions like Fiora, even when he's on a champion like Gangplank, does get countered slightly by it. First ban that comes out from Vici is going to be Zoe, targeted towards Mole in the mid lane.
All right, Zoe makes sense because Mole has played 2 champions, Galio and Zoe primarily. Now, of course, we've seen his Sion play, so he can play towards that as well. But immediately now not having access towards the Galio and the Zoe means that he's challenged to play something else, something new.
And it's strange because BLG were the team that decided they're going to take away Galio. And we already know that those are the 2 champions that Mole likes to play. Talia, another ban thrown his way.
It's just a tough task for BLG. They recognize that Vici Gaming have the first pick going in the second phase. Okay. So then if they hold on to the Galio, say, yeah, we want to pick it for ourselves, they run the risk of Vici Gaming not only having that kind of a composition, but then adding the Galio on top of the Zac. That would be too hard to fight in team fights, so they decide to just cut it out.
They decide they also want to cut out Karma. That's the final ban that comes out from BLG. Vici do our first pick here. They can pick up an AD carry if they want and kind of hide that last lane. Hide the solo lane, but they say no. We'll save AD carry for last for Snow. Instead, we'll pick up Rise for Easy Hood in the mid lane.
It makes sense. BLG didn't decide to ban any AD carries. If you're Snow, you can go back towards your Xayah comfort. Xayah works well in this composition because she has a lot of tanks that can walk upwards, walk forwards, and then she can follow up with her low range. Kog'Maw works a little bit better just because they should feel comfortable with the front line that they do have. you just run the risk of not having necessarily the wave clear, because Rise as a wave clear is risky because he's mid-range. So if you look towards everyone else, you don't really have a way to stop a siege from happening.
Not at all. You've got split pushing coming out from Fiora, and that's about it. You need somebody in the AD carry spot. It's now that Rise that has been locked in to be that wave clear for the team of Vici.
And you know what? Just looking at the bans, I didn't even see the fact that Xayah was banned by Vici. So it's a little bit harder from them from this point forward.
Let's see what Vici decide to pick up as their AD carry. They'll get to look at what the bottom lane is going to be from BLG. Thresh was already the supportive choice. Now they see that it's going to be Jhin locked in as the champion of choice for Jhin Zhao.
Yeah, they need something safe, which is why I believe that this Ezreal hover makes sense. BLG going towards the Jhin Thresh bottom lane, that duo, goes back to what Aimee used to be great at. This is what they used to be known as. So now that BLG have said that we have a strong bottom lane focus, that we can look for picks, Vici need to have that safetiness.
They already have a very strong bottom lane. Tahm Kench was locked in as their supportive choice. They go with Caitlyn as their AD carry.
It's a little bit risky just because of the fact that you do have the range, you can look to siege, and of course, Tahm Kench is great into the Thresh. That is fair, but you still have to recognize once you hit level 6, Sejuani is definitely going to be heading towards the bottom side of the map. You already have GP, of course, once he hits 6 as well, that ultimate is going to be a major threat in that side of the map as well. So a lot of focus between both of these teams is going to be bottom lane. Vici wanting to be a little bit more offensive to try and get the tower, and it's going to be on BLG to try and match that, but look for the kills in a longer lane.
But will they have access to the longer lane, Suresh? Because it seems like, yes, they will, but that's on the onus of Fiora almost. That's the champion that wants to be in these longer lanes. Can BLG take advantage of that and try and take down Fiora when she does get access to longer lanes and start split pushing for Vici?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of those questions start in the jungle position, because if Sejuani falls behind, Fiora can't do what you want her early. She excels. She does a lot more. The Sejuani won't be able to punish her once she starts split pushes.
She's up against a Zac, though. Not a Kha'Zix, not a Lee Sin, not someone that's going to invade. It's a tank against tank matchup, so you'd expect them to kind of just farm.
I do believe that Sejuani can invade in towards the Zac's jungle early on, just because she has the Cassiopeia versus Ryze matchup in the mid lane. Mid lane is going to be incredibly important, because suddenly, if Raptors are going to be on the mind of both teams really early on, if Sejuani is going to be trying to track Zac early on, trying to walk towards the Raptor camp, there's not much you can do as a Zac towards that. So it's going to be hard for Zac initially to not be tracked, but if you can get to that point where you can impact the top lane matchup and help the bottom lane siege, then that is their early game win condition.
Let's see how it goes, because BLG, they've got a winning lane in the mid lane, but bottom and top side map should be pushing in for Vici. So all eyes will be on Chieftain in the jungle to start this match, working in tandem with Mole. See if he can track Swift, see if he can be aggressive and invade nice and early. I'll lock down EasyHoon. Will lock down their jungler and Zac. That should be their key to an early game success against Vici. Let's get on to Summoner's Rift. Game number 1, BLG taking on Vici. They're asleep, Raz.
I have faith in them.
I can.
Woo!
Told you they were asleep, Raz. Took them some time. Literally a flash from EasyHoon was what woke up the crowd.
I think they were so focused on the level 1. That's my theory.
Okay.
They were just looking at it, waiting to see if EasyHoon would get caught up. He did, so he does lose his flash in that entire endeavor.
Early game summoner taken away, you already mentioned. Chieftain and Mole, they have the superior 2-on-2 to start the match at least. They could start attacking EasyHoon instead of just attacking Swift in the jungle instead.
I just want to pick up a little bit of what the desk was talking about in the mid lane jungle duo, just because we were wondering what Chieftain and Mo would bring for the team, and it looks like in the last 3 series they had OMG, FPX, Snake. They 2-0'd all of them.
Well, we see some solo QGs coming out here, Raz, because they stayed inside the brush, don't go for any sort of leashes, but BLG says, you know what, we'll just fight this one. Hook goes at the Tahm Kench. Caitlyn with the range advantage gets a couple of shots, but BLG don't take too much damage for that.
Yeah, just because Road had Guardian for himself, so the shield is really beneficial to stop Jhin Zhao from taking too much hurt. Great from that side to not lose to that solo QGs.
And you were saying, Iron's going to be focused on that mid lane jungle duo. And like we mentioned earlier, Flash is already burnt for Ryze. Could this be the crucial factor between these two?
Yeah, it was already poured beforehand, and Ryze already had to focus on the Q and Twin Fen spam. in the level 2 portion of it. Now that they're doing level 2, he's right under his own tower because he doesn't want to find him too far behind. So the strategy early on of BLG looking to take on Raptors, looking to track Zac, is so much more effective now that they're not even close to being worried about EasyHoon. They've already placed a ward to track if Zac goes towards red side.
Like you mentioned, Mole was able to push in EasyHoon. While EasyHoon was stuck underneath his turret, he sneaks into the red side of the jungle, gets a ward on that Raptor camp. Swift cleared the entire bottom side of his jungle, but now EasyHoon might get ganked here by Chieftain. Doesn't flash forward for the knockup, but forces a heal out of EasyHoon. Mole's not going to collapse in, just gets some damage instead. Not overcommitting to that gank.
Yeah, so the fact that EasyHoon immediately blew the heal early on just so he can walk out before Mole helps out in the gank. I mean, he loses a summoner, but it was really worthwhile just because he doesn't want to lose any more HP.
Big summoner spell to lose though in that mid lane, because now without flash, without heal, EasyHoon cannot teleport back into the mid lane, which is already going to be pushing in for Mole. Yeah,
it was just a tough task, a difficult ask. If he was holding on to his summoner, a lot of mid laners would do just that, then Mole would be able to catch up, he loses a lot of HP, and he would have to base. And that's destructive in what was already a destructive beginning of the game.
He is going to head back to base now. EasyHoon picks up his tier, will walk back into the mid lane. You'd expect Mole to push this one in. He's gone for Cleanse as well as Flash as his 2 mastery. Two summoner spells. And he'll be able to go back to base, spend his gold, get back in and continue pushing in. Chieftain did go for that gank, so he didn't go for the invade against Swift. So Swift's been able to clear his entire jungle, but Chieftain is a little bit faster at the moment.
It was a smart clear from Swift because he did his full bottom side of the map, recognizing that he wasn't going to have access to top side. And then when he did enter the top side, he did so from base to his red side jungle, which means that he didn't have to necessarily cross the ward. So he's not seen. You can still predict where he's going to end up, which is why pings are being levied towards the top side of the map.
Okay.
But that being said, Swift has done a good job thus far.
He's got nowhere else to go. He's cleared the top side of the map. Of course, it's going to be the top lane. It will take some time before the next camps respawn for these 2 jungles. They might clash as well. Bottom side of the map, we'd expect Caitlyn to start pushing in, but it's Jinjiao as well as Road who are being aggressive and pushing in against this combo. Ooh. Zank looking for the top side of the map. MacyJ has not gone back to base yet. Meow teleported back into the lane. Knockup is successful. Going to lock him down with the rubber hands. Doesn't connect to another minion. Meow just slows him down. They get damage, but now Chieftain's rotating out. Meow has the buy advantage at the moment. It's going to be a bit difficult. No, MacyJ has teleport back in, so it's going to be an even fight between these 2. But already Vici retreating back towards their turrets, able to fight this one safely.
Yeah, I would say that Swift put Meow in a really good position just because Amazing J, when his first base, came back with a Sheen. So that gank means that he's going to have to blow a lot of mana to just heal himself back up, or at least use the potions that he already had for himself. So now Fiora's in a comfortable spot.
Yeah, for some reason I kept thinking that he had not gone back to base yet, but he did pick up the Sheen. Meow goes straight for the Vamp Scepter, so he's able to sustain himself underneath his turret. And despite that large wave crashing in by Amazing J, Meow still has a slight CS lead for himself.
It's not something that is very often, doesn't happen oftentimes when you see Meow on the top side. Really early on in the split when he picked up the Fiora because it was Crash on the team in the jungle spot. And Crash didn't go topside at all. And that's a lot of the times, a lot of speculation was, well, is Meow not succeeding in the positive matchup because he is not a talented player, or is it not because he's not having the pressure? This time around, he does get the pressure for himself. He has the CS lead, a massive one at that. And I want to see what he can do with it.
And he's got the positive matchup. Fiora into gameplay, something that we know he can succeed on. And we'll have to keep track of this matchup. But early on, we were tracking to see if Chieftain goes for an invade at the Raptor camp against Swift at level 3 or 4. He did. Didn't get anything for it because it's just a ward that was placed out by Mole, and they got a summoner spell from EasyHoon. Both of his summon spells are now back up. So where do they go towards next? Because Vici have survived that initial early game.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, Chieftain knows that the Raptors are going to be back up just based off the timing. But going towards Raptors is a loss of resources because he needs to start thinking about bottom lane. His bot side is starting to push up. They've been pushing up for quite some time at this point. And they recognize if he goes top side, easily Zac can go towards the bottom side. So they're really prioritizing vision towards the Dragon, not only because it's Infernal, but the bot side needs that protection.
Bottom lane still yet to go back to base via the team. Doran's ring stun coming out from Jinjiao. Doran's shield being stunned here by Snow.
What I love about the Doran's ring is that, of course, Dancing Grenade, the Q, does have a little bit of an AP ratio. That's nice from that aspect. Also gives you a lot of mana back once you get the kills on the minions. So you can stay in lane for as long as you want.
Very commonly used to execute minions as well. Good trade from BLG's bottom lane. Chunk out Caveman slightly, but he's got multiple health potions to use here. Swift actually being a bit proactive. He's going for an invade against the blue buff of BLG because Chieftain, he's in the bottom lane. He's going to be spotted out by a ward if he moves any further forward. So Vici know exactly where their jungler is.
Yeah, and at this point, it has to be the Vici Gaming lineup that walks back.
But actually go straight in for it. There was a ward to spot that one out. Chieftain just collapsed it. Hook is on, lands at the caveman, uses the grey health. Doesn't look like it's going to be enough. Reload comes out from Jinchao, gets that final shot, and first blood is picked up by BLG.
And Mole's here too, just in case Snow decides to stay under tower.
Snow backs away, is a bit respectful there. So although Vici get a blue buff for themselves, BLG get a pick in the bottom lane, and they knew that was coming, Raz.
They just tried to play their cards a little bit too aggressively. Remember what I said? Walk back entirely, because sure, you have the Tahm Kench in the lane, but the common strategy versus Tahm Kench is just to pick off the Tahm Kench early on because he doesn't have that much of a health pool. They have Sejuani ulti because she pinged 6. They have the Thresh follow-up, so that's long enough to be able to take him down, even regardless if he has the shield. So that's just the bottom lane not respecting the game.
But is there a reason for them to play so aggressively, to play their cards in that manner? Because they're already getting something for it.
It's just
Vici would take your blue buff away.
It's just confidence. That's what it is. They thought that they can at least not be pushed away from the CS, still get experience, play a little bit farther back, and act like they're not, you know, respecting the gank, or at least not seeing the gank happening at all.
Does bite the dome, however, they're going for a deep invade. Instead, they collapse into Road, tries to knock back Swift, successfully does so, but Swift flashes forward, brings Road back into the rest of the team. Mole's trying to fight this one out. He's been left untouched. They're focusing onto the spawn. Good petrifying gaze, locks down the carries from Vici, but they're still collapsing onto Chieftain. No slow available for Caveman to continue this chase. BLG now looking for the reinitiation. No. Snow stepping a little bit too far forward. Captive Audience does not lock him down as it's tanked by Caveman. They're still looking for a fight, but neither team's going to get it here.
Yeah, you mentioned it. The petrifying gaze was crucial, and the reason why it was crucial is because it would lock down Easyhoon, the only person who was going to be there for follow-up damage. The moment Thresh gets brought back, they thought they can burst him down, but because he was stunned, because Ryze was not able to follow up with damage, he was able to get out freely. So Mole saved his team very well in that scenario.
You're playing well in that mid lane. Is still even in CS with Easyhoon at the moment. They weren't able to attack that Ryze nice and early. Stacking his tier. Easyhoon's doing the exact same thing at the moment. Top side of the map is still in favor of Meow. There's about 20 CS of a lead ahead of Amazing J. Amazing J will want to scale up as much as he can. Both of these champions are running Kleptomancy.
Yeah. At this point, because of Meow, that's making it, or at least Chieftain's job, very difficult. Chieftain wants to be on the bottom side of the map. He wants to just have full focus in that area. But because he has to think about Meow getting out of line, looking to dive on Amazing J, or at least the fact that Swift has the option to just forego bottom side, which he tried to do earlier. So he can go top side and make a gank happen. It makes it harder for Chieftain because then at that point it's like to go bottom lane. Swift has an easy access to top lane and to get that tower down early.
We're talking about that. If Swift can get that tower down early for Meow, it opens up the extended lane for Meow. Fiora can then play aggressively against Gangplank. He has no turret to retreat back to. Vici can potentially swap their lanes as well and allow the Caitlyn to start sieging other turrets. But so far, nothing. All the turrets are left up. Only a single kill was picked up by BLG. That was in the bottom lane. It's given them a nice lead, though. They're about 1,000 gold up there, looking for a play in the bottom lane using the Tahm Kench ultimate.
They're going for it.
They're getting right behind. Road spots it out, uses the Dark Passage, gets it back to safety. They lock down Tahm Kench underneath the turret as well. Gangplank ultimate's being used. Caveman's got nowhere to go. He has no flash available either. Turns him a 2-on-2. Jungler and AD carry against AD carry and support. Easyhoon's forced to rotate down. Kurtakor comes out. Swift is very low. He can't take too many of these. Easyhoon has to block those shots. Tries to curve the bullet. It's not going to be enough, but they trade 1 for nothing.
Incredibly smart from Road to catch all of that out. Because at the end of the day, if Caveman falls through, Easyhoon's soon to follow.
Forced to flash.
And you have to be tilted if you're Vici Gaming. The setup was proper. They just didn't know where Road was. Road was just in position to get, of course, the W across, the Lantern across, and there was no way to follow up.
And that was very smart. Knowing that he had to play back, knowing that if he did that, it would allow Jinjiao to play as forward as he did. And they able to turn around the play as well, which was nice with BLG. Forcing the bottom lane gank earlier, even though that Chieftain was on a ward.
Yeah.
And then playing against the gank that came out from Vici.
Could have turned out really poorly. Remember, one of these ganks from Swift can immediately turn in towards that bottom lane tower. They get bottom lane tower just off that alone, then Caitlyn can just start the snowball moving towards mid lane, outer turret. Remember, Cassio, sure, she has miasma, but she still cannot sit under her own tower alone versus a Zac composition that can look to dive it. So Vici, once they get that one successful gank, they can start really pitching into the attempt towards these lanes and start taking these outer turrets.
But where do they start to go? Because Amazing J, he's farming perfectly fine on the top side of the map. Yes, he's about 10-15 CS behind. That's a comfortable spot for him. He's been here before. He's going to start scaling up. That's going to be okay. No advantage made by Vici top side map. No advantage made in the bottom lane. And mid lane was a disaster from the start. EasyHoon was constantly under pressure.
Yeah, the fact that EasyHoon was able to, I would say, heal back up in the lane, even in CS. Comes back, sure, he doesn't have sums because of what happened earlier, but just showcases that all of the pressure that BLG tried to levy towards him, he was able to weather the storm, and he's going to be crucial in making this bottom play finally work.
They're trying to go down to the bottom lane now. Spotted out by a control ward. They clear that out. EasyHoon rotates back into the mid lane. Blast cone used by Swift to get over to the Dragon Pit.
Wow, I'm surprised that they decided not to bring EasyHoon along for the play. That means that tower is not going to go down. They decided against it because that's a cannon minion wave crashing in towards the mid lane. So that could have been Sejuani immediately coming in there with a response to take down the mid lane turrets. They value that one, but because of that, they stopped the play from bottom lane happening at all.
Good warning coming up from BLG as well. You have to think if that control ward wasn't on the blast cone, that would mean Vici could have gone for the gank at the bottom lane. Could have executed without BLG knowing. Making sure they're covering all their bases here, so to speak. Keeping top lane safe, while at the same time getting other advantages across the map. But it's been very quiet, Raz. These two teams, they're not forcing too much. We saw a gank forced in the bottom lane by BLG, a gank forced by Vici. Both times went wrong for Vici. Swift is still trying to play towards the bottom side of the map. Chieftain has been hovering between mid lane as well as bottom lane, farming up as much as he can at the same time. But nothing too much. No major focal point on the map.
Yeah, it's just a lot of tension in the side of Vici, just because a lot of their aggression, they're starting to temper back, take a few steps back, specifically Swift, starting to farm up, realizing that he's falling behind in experience and, of course, CS. Hasn't happened to him that much throughout the split. He's actually been the one jungler that has been consistent in finding positive CS difference, which is surprising because of Vici's current trajectory.
It's easy here in the Mole, go for a 1-on-1 in the mid lane. Good damage coming from Mole. That Petrifying Gaze connected would have been a kill. Jin Jiao caught a little bit too far forward. Does have Chieftain deep in the jungle near the Raptor camp, but it doesn't matter. Road has the Dark Passage available, gets him back to safety. EasyHoon's been forced up the turret again. Chieftain already had control of the jungle, jumping on top of Swift now, looking to lock him down, gets good damage as Sejuani. Is it going to be enough to kill him? Wow, the hook, barely missing. Swift goes low, gets popped into his passive. They have the ultimate available from Jin Jiao, but not going to use it.
That's going to be important. I mean, now that Swift has to head back to base, now that EasyHoon's back at base, your BLG, they should look towards trying to force a play here, either going towards the Infernal Dragon or going towards the tower. I'm surprised they're not looking for that currently. The reason they would decide against it was just because they feel like they're in a really good position in the bot side regardless.
And you're already talking earlier about how Swift, he's fallen behind his CS against Chieftain. Chieftain's continuing to try and make as many proactive plays as he can. Diving into the blue side of Vici's jungle, taking away the Wolf Camp, putting pressure, making sure that when Mole goes for the aggressive plays against EasyHoon, he's there to back him up even though Mole fell low, EasyHoon's forced to back away. Vici are now trying to see if they can take an Infernal Dragon from himself. Swift has no passive and he's very low.
Yeah, this is very risky. A play is going to have to start here.
They turn to Caveman though, forced to use the grey health. He tries to flash away. Jin Jiao trying to find access to the back line, uses the Curtain Call instead. Gangplank ultimate should be enough to take down Caveman. Now Snow is alone. Takes a couple of shots from the ultimate, but the fight's going around the Infernal Dragon. Taken down by Vici, but another pick comes out from Mole. This time, it's going to take down Meow.
Yeah, Meow and Caveman, this is not a proper trade if you're Vici Gaming. Just because there are now two members up the side of BLG, they're going to start focusing towards this tower. There's not much you can do about it.
Swift, very low, has no passive, remember. Can he get away from this game? No, he can't. Flash forward from Road, knocks him out of his jump. Another pick picked up by BLG.
And I don't understand this, because Vici were playing patiently up until that point, recognizing that a lot of their plays were not working out. So they can look towards top side. Swift can play top side, can get Meow ahead. That is an opportunity. But he actually forgoes all of the camps top side. He had Raptors, Red Buff, and Krugs. Decided to go bottom side, which is a major light spurring in the side of BLG, recognizing is like, wait a minute. He's going to either go for the Infernal Dragon, he's going to go for the bottom lane gank, or he gets nothing and he loses out in so much experience. So that made it very obvious the moment he showcased that he was walking up to the Raptors that this play was going to happen.
Fantastic replay right there of the player's camera during that fight. And as you mentioned, the Infernal Dragon was picked up by Vici. However, BLG capitalized. 5,000 gold lead for themselves. Every single lane is now winning. You've got a 2-0-2 gangplank in the top lane. It's going to be difficult for Meow. Even though he's on Fiora, difficult to split push against that gangplank. BLG even going to try and take more, looking for Rift Herald next.
Yeah, the biggest problems, of course, of a split pushing Fiora is getting to her 2 to 3 item breakpoint, where she can really be a terror before the lanes start opening up. Now that the lanes are opening up, Rift Herald is now going in favor of BLG. This game is sped up so quickly that GP doesn't really have to think about the pressure Meow is going to start to levy.
Well, Meow does have that extended lane now, Raz, but it's not the extension that they would have wanted. It's his outer turret in the bottom lane being taken down. Vici swapped their AD carry and support to the top lane.
And at this point for BLG, they're going to be looking for as many picks as possible. They have an open bot side. They want to open up top side. As long as they can get Sejuani a little bit deeper into the jungle to place down the one control ward that she currently has, the Rift Herald is going to see use. So Vici are going to have to be defensive so the Rift Herald doesn't take 2 towers instead of just the 1.
And how do they get back into this game? Is it just from being defensive? Do they just have to stall it out? Because it's not a 2,000-3,000 gold lead, it's 5,000 gold that BLG have picked up.
Well, Zach is an incredible jungler, at least a champion in terms of stalling out games or finding opportunities back. If they ever try and dive the tower, an inner tower, maybe an inhibitor tower, depending on how long this game goes, of course, then, yeah, Zach can be, of course, find those times to look for a counter gank, or at least a counter engage. Bring someone back towards his team with his ultimate. Swift is going to be the sole person I look to here.
Well, he's going towards the top lane already, looking for that gank. Road locks him down. Easy Hoon rotates to the top side of the map with the Realm Warp. Rune Prince is going to be enough. Steps on a trap. Snow gets that pick. It came off the back of Swift's gank.
Yep. Sejuani was nowhere to be seen in that one. Is actually looking mid lane for a counterplay. But that's something you need to start rolling for yourself if you're Vici Gaming and you're falling this far behind.
And we see this time and time again, Raz. BLG are the team to pick up the outer turret, even though it's Vici who made the proactive play and get a pick. And again, it's the team that's ahead. They're the ones that make the proactive play to take objectives. The team that's behind, all they get is that single kill.
They're going for him.
Well, Mole's going to miss his Petrifying Gates, but it's still collapsing onto Easy Hoon. Charged by Chieftain. One more attack will lock him down. 1 kill picked up by BLG. Curtain Call looking for Caveman. Grey Health gets popped. Snow gets sniped. 1 more, not going to be enough. But Chieftain goes forward for that kill, giving it over to Mole. Swift jumps in, tries to bring Chieftain back, but just bounces him a little bit further forward. Rubber Hand's not going to be enough. He's forced to flash away as well. And disaster all across the map for Vici at the moment. Mole's diving in between 2 turrets, looking for Swift. Meow is there as well. Almost gets locked down by the Miasma. 4 kills picked up by BLG.
One after another. One wanted to save Easy Hoon. The rest wanted to save Snow and Caveman. Just no numbers in the top side of the map for Vici Gaming, and it made it all the more easier for BLG to look to dive that tower.
Look, it's 9-1 at the moment, Raz. 4 members just died from Vici. They just used Rift Herald on the top lane while they move towards Baron. It's an absolute spanking. Doesn't seem like there's much Vici can do anymore.
Just the fact that BLG have gotten this good this late into the season showcases the strength of Chieftain at this point. The fact that Chieftain has been, I'd say, incredibly strong at recognizing where Swift is on in the map, and even in the play that was positive from Vici Gaming on the top side of the map, they find an immediate answer getting the mid lane tower, collapsing onto Easy Hoon, and then just, of course, at this point, next play after next play after next play. If Vici Gaming are not going to be in the right position, then you look to punish them. Of course, Swift comes in to see if he can get Chieftain. The only problem is, of course, he wasn't channeling ulti long enough. So he bounces him away from the turret rather than inside of the turret. So that just costs him his life as well.
Doesn't get a return for him, and even though Baron was picked up after, BLG still being proactive. Move towards bottom lane. They burn Meow's flash. But let's really talk about Mole as well as Chieftain, because these are the 2 members that have been brought into BLG. And BLG, they had a decent split without Mole, without Chieftain. SKS and Athena were playing all right. But since they brought these 2 in, the team has been renewed. They're looking a lot better moving in towards playoffs.
Because as the season went along, as the split kept going, they started stalling out. The picks, the metas changed quite frequently from level 3 gankers to level 4, level 5. Experience matters. Hit that level 6 point and see if you can get things going. Skarner and Olaf are the 2 major champions, and SKS showcased that he can't play that. Chieftain comes in, of course, playing meta champions, playing to the right side of the map, playing to the bottom side of the map as well, completely rejuvenated, and the only question was whether or not Athena and Mole is going to be a downgrade to Mole. But Mole has been showcasing that he can play well with the team and team fight well. So he's been a positive adjustment.
He certainly has, and it looks like Vici going for one final fight. Swift tries to dive into the back lines, gets destroyed. before he can bring anyone in towards his turret. 2 kills picked up by BLG. They're marching through mid lane, Raz. This could be game. Kurtz called a lockdown snow. The slows are going to be enough. There's no flash available for an AD carry. Flayed backwards. Double kill picked up by Jin Zhao. Mao is now trying to fight 1-on-5. Not going to be enough. That's 3 for Jin Zhao. Only Easyhoon left alive, and it could be game.
22 minutes in the game. That's how clean this one was.
Fantastic play coming from BLG. Vici, they tried to fight back. They tried to be proactive with Swift. It's not going to be enough. Give me Jake Spontaberry's number, because this was an absolute shellacking. BLG go 1-up over Vici.
All it took was just really 1 or 2 picks before it really snowballed. We were stalled out on the bottom side of the map for how long?
Quite some time. It was the game was at a dead state for a while, and he called it. It was going to be the onus on Chieftain or Swift to make the proactive plays. And both times it worked in favor of BLG. Swift, when he went for the ganks, it was countered by BLG. He got taken down, gave a kill over, gave objectives over to BLG. When BLG forced the ganks, it still worked for them.
Yeah, I think ultimately it came down to one moment of impatience on the side of Swift, because as the game was stalling out, instead of going top side and recognizing that bottom lane was a little bit too dead just because of how much vision BLG had down there, and start helping out Meow, he went for Infernal Dragon, knowing that, of course, the enemy team had information that he was there. Costs him his life, costs him the bottom lane tower. They rotate topside, and it's so easy for them to start pressuring there. And we already talked about Fiora's in the early game. She needs the game to be stalled out, or at least for her team to be doing well up until that point, or her job is completely awkward. And Meow was just a null factor in this game.
Yeah, we expected the Fiora to do more. Early game it was looking good for Meow.
Yeah.
Amazing Jane just plays it well. And BLG focused on the rest of the map, take pressure away from Amazing Jane in the top lane, making so Swift can't go up there. And after a while, the Fiora becomes useless, so to speak.
Yeah, so ultimately, I think it was just down to Swift be playing that one a little bit more patiently. Because you're going up against top talent, of course. You've had strong series, of course. They've gone up against Snake before. Right now, a lot of losses on the side of Vici Gaming. And they've played a lot of top competition up until this point. So for them going up against BLG, you have to at least learn that little bit of patience.
Well, we just saw Easyhoon. Do we see Fire Rain come in now? Is that what they're going to do? Because it's been what Vici have been doing from time and time again. They play Easyhoon in game number 1, win or lose, they'll bring in Fire Rain for game 2. And Vici can't make playoffs anymore, so it seems like the time for them to experiment with their roster a little bit more.
It is possible. They can do that. I mean, if they're finding it's, the scrims are working out well for Fire Rain, they can bring him in. I thought Easyhoon had a game put in the position that he was in level 1, just being able to come back. So I think that Easyhoon, it makes sense for him to come back in game 2.
But a very quick game 1 going over to BLG. Let's send it back to the analyst desk to break down the game.
Thank you, guys. You're absolutely right. It was a very fast game 1 in just 22 minutes, but it is very interesting, and there's a lot to break down here for us.
Yeah, fun fact, our fastest game in the LPL was actually 21 minutes and 40 seconds, so this was almost the fastest game in the LPL. If they had just been a minute quicker, they would have had the record.
Well, rest in peace, not to be, but maybe in game 2 perhaps. Let's go ahead and take a look at the champion select here, and honestly, it seemed like BLG maybe had more options here in the early game, and that's a sentence that feels strange to say, BLG early game, but they're able to execute.
Yeah, and so the first thing that I want to do is I want to talk about kind of the win conditions of both compositions, and then I want to take those win conditions and apply them to the team, because I don't think either comp is bad. Sometimes you get out of drafts and the analyst is like, what is this team doing? This is so wrong. Me, but that wasn't the case here. But I did think that it was the wrong draft for Vici Gaming in particular. Right. Now, Zach can't really gank before level 5. That's kind of like his big ganking window, or when he likes to set up ganks. Fiora, she can be a counter pick to Gangplank, how she can tap the barrels and get them out, deny a lot of his damage, has most control of the minion wave. Rise, Easyhoon had to eat the bullet and take the Rise into the Cassiopeia. He knew it was coming, but then Tahm Kench versus Caitlyn, it's a pretty safe lane. Now, the problem that I see with that is that the only hard CC that Swift has in that lane, outside of what he's bringing as Zach, is Easyhoon in the mid lane as the Rise. So you're like, okay, level 5, a little bit late for ganks. Probably going to be ganking Rise repeatedly, trying to punish the Cassiopeia, who has to be up forward. But like Caitlyn Kench, there's not a lot of value there. Once they're level 6, they can also help and gank on the mid lane. And if your strategy as Vici Gaming is relying on how you're getting access into the mid lane, how you're pivoting around the mid lane, how you're unlocking the mid lane, you've probably already lost the game. Because to be frank, Easyhoon never leaves mid. He is never the piece that you want to play around. He's a good, solid player. He did not die solo 1v1 to Mole. It was close, but he didn't. But he is not the star player to make plays. And so I think that that type of draft And that win condition, while it makes sense for some teams, it does not make sense for Vici. Something like a Sejuani would be a much better option because you can gank any lane, especially something like that Fiora.
Yeah, there's a big disconnect there with Vici's composition, but if you look to BLG, I actually think that it does align with what they're able to use in-game.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. So, like, the other option that Vici could have done is they could have tried to punish the Gangplank because it was very, very greedy of AJ. He does this all the time on GP. He starts Sapphire Crystal. He's not going Grasp with the Dying. He's going for the Klepto. And then he uses an early teleport to get a very early Sheen. I believe it was Sheen Cloth Armor. And he just tries to abuse his opponent. He knows he's going to get kicked in. But the thing is Fiora Zac, like, there is so much dive potential if Fiora can get him under and whittle him down low. So BLG just knew, put up some safety wards. That's why Sejuani started top side of the map. She not only started top side, but she also made sure that she had scuttle control on top side to create that vision safety net. So if Zac did try to go for early plays to get the snowball ahead, punish the very greedy Gangplank play, that GP would have so much time to back up and disengage from the tower. So just from draft to early game execution, super clean from BLG to not give Vici any options, which is why it felt that they stalled out.
Completely strangled out of the game for sure. Let's go ahead and actually take a look at what that looked like in game though, because there's a lot of how they should happen and how it worked in game was very similar for BLG, but it did definitely break apart here for Vici gamers. We can take a look at this dragon fight right here, though it's not more of a fight as is everyone running away.
It's a perfect example as well of the breakdown for Vici. Great replay. The thing is that while they're taking that Infernal, the bot lane is just getting destroyed by Jhin.
Yeah.
Jhin opens up his ultimate, and this is kind of what Vici have. You have Swift and EasyHoom, 2-man taking Infernal, and then their bot lane is completely left open to the Wolves, and BLG, yeah, they lose the Infernal, but they kill the bot lane, they have a massive wave that crashes on the tower, takes it very low, inside track to mid lane tower, pick up a bunch of kills, and then I believe ultimately push down the mid tower after that, so there's no way that they even trade up. And then if that's what Vici are doing wrong, this is what BLG do right. When they are grouped up, it's still the strong 5v5 team, but it's not happening at 55 minutes anymore. It's happening at, 17 minutes into this game. This is a 19-minute team fight. They grab the team fight, sack the Rift Herald, because cool guys don't watch explosions, let it take the tower, and immediately turn on the Baron. Like, so crisp, so clean.
And it happens early game, as you were saying, and this is like a completely different BLG that we're seeing here, but it's getting even more clean from series to series, from game to game as well. Like, it was kind of messy. It was like a whole lot of invades happening early game for BLG as soon as Chieftain and Mole came in, but now, you're right, it looks surgical for the team, and it actually will be Chieftain himself picking up our MVP in this one. And, yeah, great performance on the Sejuani, 0-0-11 license, not to kill.
This is quickly becoming my jungler to watch in the LPL. I actually think Chieftain is very good, just need a little bit more tape to really judge where he's going to rank out from all of our top tier talent. But it's just the synergy. The fact that Mole and Chieftain on BLG look better as a squad with less games played than Swift and Vici. Yes, they've been rotating the roster, bringing in Snow, bringing in Fire Rain, but both those players still have more time on the field with Vici than BLG do, and they have massive communication, massive synergy problems.
That's one of the big shocking things for BLG, the fact that it was kind of plug and play and they just went. And that was at the very end of the split as well. Like, obviously you look towards the team and they must have been scrimming, they must have been playing with them, but then it begs the question, why not earlier? Did you actually want to come into the end of the split and curveball the rest of the teams?
Well, I mean, they've been so, what's the word? Loyal to Athena. Because the thing is like, Rhodes, the other Korean. The problem that BLG have always had, they had it when they were IMA, is they had a lot of Korean players, but only 2 import slots. So they bent over backwards and always accommodated Athena. And last year, we kept pointing the finger, you have to fix your mid lane problem. He is non-existent right now. He's not working with the jungle. But they wouldn't do it. They subbed out Road. Now finally it's kind of like the straw has broken the camel's back, and whether that's Athena, whether that's SKS, I don't know the answer to that, but Chieftain and Mole are the answer to BLG.
And it's working for them right now. Let's see if they can do it again in game 2, as we are going to take a very short break. We'll be back after this.